What a fantastic story. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Robert, and congratulations again.
Thanks. Really proud of the team, Lockheed Martin team.
Amazing.
Everybody for doing
Fantastic
it. Y'all
work.
take care.
Great job. We're keeping our eyes on ground operations as teams work to secure the SRC, take measurements at the landing site, and get everything ready for its transit to a specially prepared clean room a few miles away. Today's landing is a big day, but to tell you the truth, NASA is starry-eyed about asteroids, and for good reason. Asteroids are time capsules for the solar system and are vital research destinations for learning about our origins and perhaps our futures. While today's events focus on returning bits of the asteroid Bennu, that's not the only asteroid in NASA's plans. Let's take a look at a glittering list of other places we're en route to visit. 1 year ago, on September 26, 2022, NASA's DART mission navigated to the small asteroid Dimorphos and deliberately crashed into it. Dimorphos is a tiny moon orbiting the asteroid Didymos, which is just a bit larger than Bennu and composed of stony material. The DART impact shortened Dimorphos's orbital period by 33 minutes, making it the first full-scale demonstration of asteroid deflection technology. This summer, while the Bennu samples were approaching Earth, technicians in Titusville, Florida were preparing the Psyche spacecraft to visit an asteroid of a different type. Psyche is named after its massive target, 16 Psyche, which is about 400 times larger than Bennu and more than 3 times as dense. The Psyche spacecraft will visit an asteroid that may consist of a significant amount of nickel-iron metal mixed with rock. It will remotely study 16 Psyche's elemental composition, topography, and gravitational and magnetic fields. The mission will provide insights into the formation of terrestrial planets like Earth. Psyche's launch window opens on October 5th. November may be sweater weather for folks in the Northern Hemisphere, but for the Lucy mission, things will just be heating up. On November 1st, Lucy will train its cameras on the main belt asteroid Dinkinesh. It will take pictures while rapidly flying by and test its ability to track asteroids during high-speed encounters. The Dinkinesh flyby will prepare Lucy for its next encounter with the main belt asteroid Donald Johanson in 2025. In 2027, Lucy will begin its long trip through the Jupiter Trojans, 2 swarms of primitive asteroids trapped in Jupiter's orbit that are thought to be the fossils of planet formation. As the weather starts to cool down, hold on to your hats. It's going to be an asteroid autumn to remember. A lot of work obviously went into getting this special delivery to Earth, but our pursuit for scientific answers is just beginning. Joining us now is Danny Glavin, co-investigator on the OSIRIS-REx mission. Danny, welcome.
Thank you. Good to have you, Danny.
It's great to have you.
Samples.
We gotta.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You know, so Danny, as somebody who looks for the building blocks of life in extraterrestrial materials, what are you expecting to find in the Bennu sample?
Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely looking for the building blocks of life, and we've been studying meteorites that we think look like Bennu. And so I'd fully expect to find amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, sugars, and energy source for life. Nucleobases, right? Parts of the genetic code. So we'll see what Bennu tells us. One thing I've learned from this mission is so many surprises. Sample analysis probably won't be an exception. We're going to be surprised.
So Danny, I want to talk to you about some of the new techniques you're going to use, but I'm going to introduce a guest we have. This little guest here is actually a meteorite from Mars, and you've looked at those.
Yeah.
This is a new one. We know it's from Mars because measurements from Viking and Curiosity tells us that. But it's, you know, it's taking the ride from Mars here that Mother Nature gave it. So can you kind of talk about the techniques you'll use on those primitive materials that we have on the samples from Bennu versus those you use on these meteorites like from Mars?
Yeah, actually, you know, they're going to be some of the same techniques. We've studied Mars meteorites. Of course, one of the challenges with all meteorites is they get contaminated when they get around. You're looking for the building of blocks of life, and, you know, the contamination really makes it hard to tease out what formed in space. That's why this is so special, these Bennu samples. Pristine materials, right? We're going to be able to trust the organic results from these samples. I just can't tell you how excited I am.
Well, so our Martian gives us the training to know that, to be ready for what you have on Bennu, and to get ready from our sample return when we conduct that.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been practicing on meteorites to get ready for Bennu, and we are ready.
They're ready.
We're ready. Let's go.
Let's go. And how exciting a piece of Mars.
Touching Mars?
Oh my God.
You'll be touching Bennu.
Well, not with my fingers.
That's right.
Recovery operations. Helicopter 1 is approaching the clean room facility Listen, the SRC.
All right, so you just heard we are approaching the clean room facility. Let's toss to James for an update. Take it away.
Yeah, Lauren, this is the final leg of the journey of the SRC. It has been loaded on the helicopter a few minutes ago with a long line to get those operations to bring it back to the Dugway clean room. And in just a few moments, we'll have a nice view from just outside us here as it comes back over. And I can see actually right now we have a view of that helicopter with the SRC attached below coming into view over the Dugway clean room. You can see this wonderful final view. And because we were able to transport it this way, this was determined the most efficient way to actually get this SRC to the clean room. It gives us a phenomenal final view here of that last flight. Truly a parade for this sample return here. And just a stunning view of the Utah Test and Training Range, surrounding mountains. And there's that SRC beneath the helicopter with the long line. There's about 100 foot of that long line there. You heard from one of our helicopter pilots earlier that they do this very carefully. They hang out the window of that plane, or the helicopter rather, to determine the safety of that SRC, making sure that they are continuing to travel properly with this SRC to the clean room. And as we speak, team members are staged and waiting just outside that clean room, ready to get that SRC back on the ground once more. There are team members already in the clean room, gowned up. They've been waiting there all morning. They know what they need to do for this next step to get that SRC in. It's going to actually be wheeled into the clean room. They're going to go through a brief operation of cleaning off a little bit of the thermal blanketing, taking all of that off, and then wheeling the SRC and placing it into that room. They're going to remove the heat shield and the back shell of the SRC and actually get the sample canister out. You just heard from Jim a few moments ago. The most important next step here is getting that sample canister on a nitrogen purge. And we'll remind you again, that is to keep the sample within pristine, uncontaminated from the atmospheric particles that surround us, getting that sample nice and on that nitrogen purge. Just a great view. You can see it hanging beneath our helicopter there. Not spinning at all because of that gimbal that is keeping it stable. Low winds today. And that SRC is bagged in thermal blanketing inside that cargo netting. And in just a few moments, it's going to be lowered down to team members outside the clean room. The first team members to actually approach this SRC once it lands will be wearing personal protective equipment and gas masks once again. They're going to do another safety assessment of that SRC, approaching with those PPE to take gas measurements to make sure that the batteries did not heat up and outgas at all during this short flight. And then once they give the green light, there will be a brief team huddle. And then the next step of the recovery operations will continue. They'll get that SRC onto a small carrying cart, and you can see it being lowered down. The clean room, the top of the clean room, the building rather, is in view, and that SRC is coming down to the ground. Slowly being lowered. Everything about this has been carefully planned out, a very slow process. You can see a wonderful view of the SRC and the cargo netting. That metal piece on the bottom is the carrying fixture that helps team members actually carry this SRC. In just a few moments, the SRC will be back on the ground. Its second touchdown of the day, a much calmer one. You now. Zoe is cleared to take off her gas mask. Big smile, very excited to get that SRC back here. It appears to be safe to continue the next step of the operations, getting that sample return capsule in the clean room. She's putting away her thermal protective gloves. The rest of the team is there, ready to begin actually getting the SRC unwrapped and onto a small cart that will be rolled over in just a few seconds. Rich just giving the team an update on the status here. They do these team huddles just to make sure everyone's on the same page with the recovery operations. It is always simultaneous action. Everything is perfectly coordinated like a ballet dance. Especially once they get in the clean room, you'll see some of those operations. They are very well choreographed. And you can see they are bagging it up just a little bit more before they do this next step of the operation of actually lifting it up onto the cart that will then be wheeled into the clean room. Everything has really been thought out in advance, down to the actual material of the gloves the team members are to use in actually handling the sample return capsule. Nylon 6 is a polymer which is very similar to a protein, and so when nylon gets wet, hydrolyzes, it breaks up and releases a compound called epsilon aminocaproic acid that can be seen in some meteorites. So in order to distinguish between the chemistry that we see on Bennu and the chemistry that we see on nylon degradation, we need to make sure that these sorts of classes of compounds are kept away from the sample. So nylon gloves are not to be used. The gloves you see the team members wearing are made out of nitrile, which is safe to be used. You can see two of our team members carrying that sample return capsule over to our clean room, our camera crew following behind, documenting this whole process. And you can see that cart in the background there. This is to help the team wheel the SRC into the clean room. That big metal door there will be open for just a few moments. And the team will wait just for the dust to settle. It'll kick up a little bit of dust. So they want to wait for that to settle and be visually clean, is the way the team describes it, before they continue to wheel that SRC in further. Removing the tarp covering that thermal blanketing protective layer of the SRC. And you can see on the other side of the door, the team members from the clean room team are waiting to acquire that SRC within. And one big lift, all four members really digging down underneath there, getting that SRC up onto that fixture. A bit of a heavy lift, you can see, and you have it successfully on there. There's some padding protecting that SRC as it rests lightly. You can see the white padding underneath the SRC. In just a few moments, teams will wait clearance to open those gates, open that door, and get the SRC inside the clean room, getting it on that nitrogen purge. Just a few moments later, a knock on the door, and there it is. The clean room door is opening up. Our Johnson team on the other side waiting for their precious cargo to arrive, and it is wheeled into the door. We have the SRC inside, just sitting outside the clean room. You can see at the left of your screen with the NASA meatball, the OSIRIS-REx insignia. That is our portable clean room that has been set up here at Dugway for the sole purpose of this part of the operation. This last step of the process of getting the SRC opened up, accessing the sample canister within, getting it on a nitrogen purge, and then actually tomorrow morning we'll have a C-17 cargo plane flying this precious cargo down to the Johnson Space Center. At the Johnson Space Center, they've actually built a custom clean room for the OSIRIS-REx Bennu samples. As I mentioned earlier, they're going to be joining a historic collection that also includes samples from the Apollo program that were collected at the surface of the moon, as well as samples from Stardust and Genesis